All righty. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 38, paragraphs 18 through 25, is amended by Chapter 28 of the Acts of 2009, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Wellfleet Environmental Protection Bylaws of July 1986 and its regulations of January 2000. The Wellfleet Conservation Commission will hold public hearings on Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 at 5 p.m. with the business meeting started at 4 p.m. via remote meetings pursuant to the Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's orders imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted at this meeting. Town hall is closed to the public. Board members will participate in this meeting remotely. So we are in session.
Perfect. For anyone viewing, I just want to make it clear that I'm Doug Lee. I'm the Assistant Conservation Agent here in Wellfleet. Hillary was not able to make it tonight, and I will be acting in her stead.
Thank you, Doug. Do we need a motion to open the business meeting?
Do we need a roll call? Yeah.
Oh, we need a roll call. That's right.
Okay.
So in attendance, we have Barbara Brennisell, Benjamin Fairbank, sorry.
Okay.
You don't have a little thing there. Mike
Oh,
Fisher
I don't
and
know.
Leon Streets. So we have a quorum. And if there's nothing to be said, we can begin with the business meeting agenda. We have mail. Does anybody know if we have had mail in the last week, 2 weeks? That would be a no.
No.
I'm not aware of any.
Okay, so then we have 35 Main Street, Shannon violations.
They notified the department. Mike Shannon would be the actor there. He notified us earlier this week or late last week, I'm not sure when, that he was unavailable for travel or due to travel this week. So he agreed to appear at the May 5th meeting.
Okay.
All right. What was the nature of the violations, Doug? Tree cutting, probably. No.
Yeah, but it's more convoluted than that because his neighbor at 45 Main Street, we don't need to get into it today because obviously Mr. Shannon's not here to discuss it, but the violation, I want to make sure I have this right, took place on his neighbor's property, but he was the one that hired for the job.
Okay, so we might
hired
need
for the work.
we might need a site visit next time then to see what this is about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
So
think
could-
some of you may have been aware of this. This has been a floating issue. Anthony Bugnol, I think is his name.
All
He
right.
may have appeared before you guys at some point representing 45 Main Street. So, but if that doesn't ring a bell, no worries. It's slated for the 5th. May.
Okay. All right.
Discussed that briefly at our last meeting, I think. All right. Doug, do we have a jurisdictional opinion?
We do.
46 Wigwam.
We do. 46 Wigwam Street. Last name Sullivan. First name listed here is Steve. I was able to go out on site, but with that in mind, I'm just going to read the project description. Removal of one storm damaged pitch pine from the right front corner of the property. And that's vague, except it starts making sense. They're basically describing looking at the water. You're facing the front door, looking towards the water. So with that in mind, from the right, removal of one storm damaged pitch pine from the right front corner of the property. Remove one dead pitch pine from the right side of the house, and remove one pitch pine from, quote, the right side of the house. Note this tree has decay in the trunk. So you'll notice that twice they mentioned the right side of the house, and I didn't see more than one tree on that side. So I think I wondered if they meant the left side of the house at the end there. It's exactly that. There's one tree that's storm damaged, and what happened is the main lead broke off, and there's at least 2 or 3 pecked out holes in it. So that's great indication that it's dead or dying. The one that was clearly dead was probably a 2 or 3 inch caliper tree. And the one that, quote, has decay in the trunk was a similar situation as the storm damaged tree. But if you were there, I think it sounds like they're talking about 3 trees, but really, and there are technically trees, but from a forestry standard, which would be like 4 inch caliper or larger, I think maybe only one of these trees met that mark. And what's happening is there's essentially pitch pines surrounding the house. And despite even being damaged, I would say these pines were getting shaded out. We all understand that pitch pines are not shade tolerant trees. And so when a grove forms in the time of trees growing, you'll have some that get shaded out. And so these have been either in decline or dead, probably due to that largely. And obviously storm damage is relevant. We are on Cape Cod, and these were all near the house. So I think we've seen this type of application before. So I would advocate for approval based on what's described here.
Is there any opportunity for mitigation by planting some shrubs, shade tolerant shrubs where those pine trees were, or is it well vegetated?
It's not well vegetated, but I suspect because it's shaded so well. Again, I think these trees are I would say I think there is, but maybe not necessarily in the location of those trees, perhaps a few shrubs. Yeah.
Okay, so I would approve this jurisdictional opinion with the provision that there's some mitigation with some planting of shrubs in areas of the property that are not well vegetated, which I don't
Okay.
know, because we haven't been there. I don't know where those are, but
I think that's clear though.
okay.
Have them submit a planting plan to you and Hillary.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, absolutely. We could. I would think maybe just throwing a number out here, but I think 3 to 5 shrubs may be appropriate. Just approved based on what we can approve that administratively. What happens usually, I don't want to get too deep into it, but usually someone will come to us with a list of what they're thinking, and 3 to 5 shrubs is, something, but again, it's we can just approve the species and quantity kind of thing, and
Okay.
all that mitigation.
So I would second Barbara's motion. That's
Okay.
my,
We'll have a vote. Barbara,
Yes,
Benjamin,
Yes.
Mike,
yes,
and Leon, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Chris, do we have any meeting minutes that we need to approve?
April 7th, Michael edited those minutes, and Chris, I don't know if she circulated them to everybody.
she did. I
but-
got them today.
Okay.
Yeah. Haven't seen. Do they look all right to everyone that's seen them?
Yes, they look fine to me. Thank you,
Okay.
Michael, for editing.
I'll entertain a motion then.
I move that we accept the April 7th meeting minutes as amended by Michael.
Second, Michael.
Very well. We'll have a voice vote. Barbara,
Yes.
Benjamin,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I approve as well. Is there anything else that people would like to discuss during the business meeting? Yes, Barbara.
Yes, I have a couple of things. I want to thank Hillary, who's not here, for sticking with the Howes Pond issue. And it seems like the Department of Transportation has really just been dragging their feet on this. But if it weren't for her having meetings and just keeping them on task, I don't think anything would be happening there at all. So currently, it's not us, but it's the water committee that Kurt Felix is chair of, that may actually propose at town meeting for a spending bill to replace the culvert under Main Street and Route 6 at Howes Pond. But I wanted to thank Hillary because otherwise that would have just slipped right through the cracks. So I think
Yes.
Ben, you were there at that meeting, and maybe Michael too.
Yes,
don't
I
know if
was.
Yeah, that was about the third or fourth meeting with the DOT on that subject. So that was one thing. The other thing is that the committee that's dealing with public access has been looking at different points for shell fishermen to get to the beach, perhaps even by driving. And there was a question about ownership at the path at the end of King Philip Road, and Hillary was going to look into that because I couldn't tell who owns that path based on the assessor's maps. So I think we need to follow up on that because the Public Access Committee would like to actually drive through that path to get access to some shell fishing areas in the Field Point area, in the wildlife management area there. But we don't know who owns it. And I think we need to follow up on that. So I don't know if Deg, you can relay these things to Hillary, or she just reads
I'm
the
trying
minute.
to connect the dots here because I want to throw the name Sonia Woodman out there.
Yes, Sonia
She
has
reached
been,
out to us. I've been in touch with her. I shared some anecdotal information based on what I know from just managing that area. The property lines are kind of ambiguous in terms of transferring what's known on paper into what you see on the ground. And I went into a little bit of detail about it with her, and then we agreed that she would reach out to me a little further down the road. Again, just not having much time right now to look at stuff. We just kind of left it there where she would reach out to me again at some point, and we could address it more specifically. So I have heard about it.
I also suggested she contact the state because I've contacted the state because people are storing kayaks there. And I don't know if they're storing it on state land, on town property, or on property that's actually owned by the homeowners association. So it is a kind of a sketchy area in terms of ownership and who has the rights to do anything there, like driving or leaving kayaks or anything. But I think this is really going to be a big issue in the coming year. So I wanted just to have that down as a sort of a follow-up because Hillary was going to try to look at the maps on that one. The other thing is that I noticed what seems to be a brand new outdoor shower on a house on Kendrick Avenue on the Mayo Beach side. There are only two houses there, and one of them looks like it has a brand new outdoor shower,
You
which
said the Mayo Beach side, so
Yeah.
not the landward side of Kendrick.
Not the landward
Not 210
side.
something.
No. So it's a brand new, and it may be a reconstruction of something that was there before, but I don't know.
Okay.
So I think that needs a follow-up. I also reported the use of the driveway at 479 Black Pond Road. And I'm not sure about their order of conditions. I seem to recall that as mitigation for the stone steps, they were not to use that access to their house because there was another access point, but I'm not sure that, I tried to look at the assessor's map and I didn't see another access point. But I think we have to go back to the order of conditions because they do this every year.
Yeah.
And that
I
whole
almost have their
drive,
address memorized. 'cause
that
we
whole
have been
that whole
putting letters-
driveway is crumbling. But if that's the only access to the house, I don't see how we could have ordered them not to use the driveway. So I don't
Yeah,
have,
honestly, it's pretty convoluted in my mind. So I always do kind of defer to the file when this comes up. Because it's been ongoing for some time. And so I don't remember where we landed, if anywhere, or if anything was agreed upon in the meantime. So I'm happy to look into it.
okay, I mean, notice it every year that there are
Yeah.
vehicles using that driveway. And I seem to recall that was an order of conditions, but I don't know if they have other access to the property. And so I
Okay.
think we need to follow up. And then I have one more thing. The Eversource plan to use herbicides on the power lines is a big issue. And I know that we sent a letter again this year. We send one every year. And those letters really aren't getting a lot of traction because Eversource is still using herbicides on the power lines. But someone pointed out to me that they're developing their next 5-year plan for management of the power lines. And that would be a time for us to have input into they already are working under a 5-year plan that ends in 2022. So I'd really like to put that on our agenda to make sure that we review the Eversource herbicide plan as it's being developed for their next 5-year plan. Somehow we get these at a business meeting when no one has ever read them or looked at them and said, oh yeah, this isn't a good idea, let's write a letter. But we may have an opportunity to do something before they actually approve it and start implementing the use of herbicides in sensitive areas. I mean, the Herring River's there are wells there. The APCC has written, they are always on the case too, but town by town, Brewster's actually suing Eversource
Right.
for this. And Wellfleet,
Brewster? The town
yeah,
of Brewster? Yeah.
yeah. And Wellfleet, we just write a letter. I mean, I think we need to be more proactive somehow.
You said their current plan, to your knowledge, ends in 2022?
That's what I was told.
Okay.
Their current 5-year plan ends next year and they're working on the next 5-year plan.
Okay.
So I don't know how we get involved in that, but I think we shouldn't just get the plan, during a business meeting and just say, oh, this is bad, let's just write a letter. I mean,
You're
that's just
suggesting a more proactive approach is what I'm hearing.
yes, I think we should. And because
Okay.
our letters aren't, we send the same letter every year and they're really not doing anything. We could be proactive like Brewster and sue them. But that would take a lot of effort.
We're using all of our legal support.
Right. Right. I just wanted to point out that some towns are doing more than we're doing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Brewster.
right.
Is there any town restriction on using herbicides?
No, no, because the state allows it. So, and Helen Miranda Wilson at town meeting, she actually had a warrant article and the whole town voted to prohibit the use of herbicides. And the state had to go to the state for approval and they wouldn't approve it. So even though the town voted to do that, it's still perfectly legal. But
You mean in general,
pardon?
or do you mean in general, or just on town property, or what?
Yeah, you want to be clear about that.
Yeah, I forget what the warrant article was. It was several years ago. And it wasn't just on town property, it was in the town. Because on town property, it's easier to do that than, just saying to the golf course or someplace that you can't use herbicides.
Because we already have that's already bylaw is herbicides not allowed on town property.
Right. This was for all projects in town.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Barbara, when that came up, uh,
I thought, I better not answer that.
you gotta put on your cape and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think when that came up, this was a couple years ago, and if I remember, Barbara, um, I mean, I wasn't actively in that conversation, but I do recall that it was more about banning it more town-wide or more broadly.
Mhm.
And I think what resulted was some type of registration where you could, I know I'm going to get this wrong, but essentially, if you registered your property with the town as
Right. No
not
spray.
not
no-
allowing, yeah, sort of a no
Right.
spray thing.
Right.
I don't remember where it exactly landed, but I guess I'm trying to also get to the point where it came up in the office where, and what you may have already figured out is that apparently it's like, yeah, it's legally dubious in terms of towns doing that for
Mhm.
state approved substances, uh, specifically pesticides.
Right.
And I think I want to say Duxbury tried it, and I don't know if it's held up to legal scrutiny or not.
I know some of my neighbors along the power lines, like John Portnoy,
Mhm.
have written to Eversource not to spray around his
Yeah.
property because his well's there, and
Bees.
he has bees, and he also has an organic farm.
Yeah,
And I think they do respect his little section there because he's on top of it, but a lot of people don't even know that it's going on. It's right by their wells.
yeah. I wonder if that's exactly what holds up is you're talking about private property rights at that point
Hmm.
versus um some type of town jurisdiction.
Right.
Pretty sure that the town of Brewster has a ban on herbicides in the 100-foot buffer.
Well, can you find out about that, Ben? Do you know Chris Miller there?
No,
Oh, okay. He's the one who told me that he's the natural resource person there. He's the one who told me that the town was suing Eversource.
yeah. Yeah, because I just was recalling that when I was still working for Blue Flax, whenever we worked in Brewster, we couldn't use herbicide. So
Mhm.
I'm assuming it's the same now, but I can confirm that and find out for you guys.
Yeah, how come Brewster do that and we can't?
Because you're talking about the purview of conservation jurisdiction. So that would be
Yes.
we amended our local bylaw at some point. I think Eastham is also strict about certain chemicals used, like very strict about PT and stuff like that. And I don't know to what extent it's ingrained in the law, but I think they have made steps to make that part of their law. And so that is different.
Yeah, we just do it sometimes as part of an order of conditions, no spraying, but you could apply chemical to the, when you cut it down to the,
Yep.
whatever it is, but it's not a regulation of any kind. And maybe we should revisit that when we redo our regulations, which I have no idea when we're going to get back to that
Yeah.
revision that's being done by who? Horsley Witten, who's doing it? I don't
Yeah.
even remember. It's
Yep.
been so long since we've met with the group, but we should think about putting that in the regulations as well. If other towns can do that, why can't we?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, that's the fair question. I think it's self-explanatory, but that, I guess that's the distinction we want to make here is that's under a distinct purview of just jurisdiction defined by, the Wetlands Protection Act, our local environmental protection bylaw. So that makes more sense legally. And the way that usually starts is it's sort of, I think within any commission, it might become a policy, and then to sort of write it in stone, if you will, give it more teeth over the long haul. Certain commissions have probably moved to make it part of their bylaws. So
Okay,
that's,
well,
I'm just mentioning that as that's usually the process it derives from. So we might be there.
okay, well, those were all my comments and questions and whatevers.
Thank you, Barbara. Good good thoughts. Does anybody else on the commission have anything to bring up? Okay, we could adjourn for half an hour and then start up again at 5 o'clock.
Sounds good.
We need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the business meeting.
I'll second.
Second, Michael.
Okay, and we'll have voice vote. Barbara,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Benjamin,
Yes.
and I also vote yay. So we'll regroup at 5 o'clock for the hearings.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so we have a quorum and it's not, I will read the announcement. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 38, paragraphs 18 through 25, as amended by the Chapter 28 of the Acts of 2009, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Wellfleet Environmental Protection Bylaw of July 1986, and its regulations of January 2000, the Wellfleet Conservation Commission will hold public hearings on Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 at 5 p.m. with the business meeting starting at 4 p.m. via remote meeting. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, no in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted at this time. Town hall is closed to the public. Board members will participate in this meeting remotely. And we have Michael Fisher, let's see, Barbara Brennisell, Leon Shreves, and once again, Benjamin, you don't have your name up there. I'm sorry. Fairbank.
Sorry about that.
I got it all on my own that time. So we are now in session. And the first hearing is Pelt.
Mhm.
Map 40, parcels 36 and 38 at 53 East Street and 70 F Street. It's an RDA for septic upgrade. Is there anybody to represent that?
Yeah, this is Jason Ellis. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So this is Jason Ellis representing Diane Hespelt. This property is in the process of being sold. It currently has a single cesspool that's about 25 feet from the edge of the isolated vegetated wetland in groundwater, and it needs to be upgraded. So what we're looking to do is relocate the well to the west side of the property. It's currently inside the basement and it's not functioning. So we move the well out to the west, near the west lot line. We're installing a new 1,500 gallon septic tank and 1,000 gallon pump chamber on the north side of the house towards E Street, and then pumping up to a mounded leach area on the second property. The owner owns both these properties. She's going to be selling them both as one. What we had to do is we had to maximize the distance with that leach area to all of the wells. Somehow we were able to get 100 feet with the leach field to every single well that's abutting and the locust well. But we had to be about 73 feet from the edge of the isolated wetland. This did go to Board of Health last Wednesday. All the variances were approved by the Board of Health last Wednesday. So what we're looking to do is seek your approval tonight so they can move forward with the upgrade.
I'll open this up to comments from the commission.
Leon, may I just make my statement?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this property is adjacent to Wellfleet Conservation Trust land, indicated as vacant on the plot. And I'm a trustee of the Wellfleet Conservation Trust, a 501c nonprofit organization, which is not a business organization. and the Wellfleet Conservation Trust has an interest that will be affected when I perform my official duties with regard to this application. Taking into account the facts I've disclosed above, I feel I can perform my official duties objectively and fairly.
Okay, great. Thank you for the heads up. Are there any questions about this? We visited the site this morning. Michael, did you get a chance to go out there?
I did, and I noticed that there are some rusty metal containers that maybe had substances in it. There's an open pit. So I would have as an order of condition that the grounds be cleaned up, and particularly the buffer zone where there's a number of logs that have been cut up and thrown there. It's really a mess.
Okay. And that's in the buffer zone, you said? Or between the buffer zone and the,
It's to the south and west of the house. So it's within the work limit, and it's on their land, but it's right up to the edge of the property line.
okay, that seems reasonable. Anybody else have anything to say?
Yeah.
Barbara?
I know that Jason does a great job in trying to situate these things for the minimum impact to the wetlands, and I applaud him for that. I'm just wondering if he may have suggested to the owners that they try to put in an advanced system at this site. I know it's not required. They're selling the house. They may get it back in their, investment in their sale price. But I think in the future, we're going to be looking at a lot more of these things and requiring that. So I just wanted to put that little idea in his head to talk to owners about that.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. I'm sure John Crumbler, were he here?
Yeah, I know how he would vote if he were here.
That's
Exactly.
So how high is this, the mounding going to be on this? Because I noticed that where you're going to put the leach field is in kind of a small swale that kind of dumps right into the wetland. So how much is going to be absorbed in that mound, do you think?
So the finished grade will be elevation 14. The existing grade in that area is about 9.5. So it'll be about a 4.5 foot mound.
Mm-hmm.
And that's required. Required to have a 5 foot separation to groundwater.
Okay.
So it's a mandatory thing that we have to do that. So.
And that is outside of the 50. Right.
Yes, the leach area is entirely out. The edge of the leach, the closest point of the leach field itself is 73 feet from the edge of the wetland.
Right.
Okay, and Leon, I just want to, if I may, Leon,
Please, Barbara.
I just want to read into the record that within the 50-foot filter strip, the commission may issue an order of conditions allowing the following activities. It doesn't say we have to, but may. And one of them is septic system maintenance. And if a septic system has failed repair or replaced, meeting state, local standards where the disturbance to the buffer zone is avoided and or minimized to the maximum extent practicable. So, I mean, I would have to approve this project based on our regulations. But we could deny it because it says may.
Right.
There's this very ambiguous wording here that we have. But I think because Jason has tried to do this in the best way possible, I think it's okay. I'm not going to have any objections or demand that an IA system be put in place, but it sure would be nice to have that.
Yes. Were this to happen in a year or two, it might have been necessitated. So are you making a motion then?
I will move that we approve the, it's an RDA, actually.
Is there gonna be
For-
a public comment?
Yes,
Question more than a comment. We're Ed and Lydia Kotak. We live at 43 East Street, right next to Diane. I'm sorry, 45, right next to Diane. And not that we're gonna have any issue with it. And actually, unfortunately, we are not in Gulfport at the moment. And we're just curious if we could maybe see, draw the location of where the mound is gonna be in the pumping station. I talked to Doug a little bit about it. I think it was last week. And it looks like it's not really gonna be anywhere near our property, but I was just curious to know how far away the mound is gonna be from I guess it would be the west side of the house. I'm assuming it's gonna be on the northwest side of the house.
it's actually on the southwest side of the house.
Southwest side of the house. Okay.
It looks
Oh,
like
Doug can show the plans. Can you share your screen,
Yeah.
Doug?
Yeah.
Yes.
you got the electronic version.
Do I have the electronic version? This is sort of my first time here. Let's see.
Jason may.
So the leach field will actually be about 130 feet southwest of the Kotak's southwest lot corner.
Yeah.
So it's going to be in that wooded area,
Oh, okay.
very, very far from the Kotak's, way down. You'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We,
'cause I know-
we went out and staked the four corners of the leach area down there. So you should be able to see 4 stakes down there with flagging on it where the actual 4 corners of the leach area are
okay.
We're not-
proposed. And then
Yeah,
That's
but
no
the
problem.
and then we're actually
We're not gonna
we're
do
actually
that.
moving the well so that it's actually over 100 feet from your leach area, which actually puts your septic system in more compliance than it currently exists today. So we're actually
Right.
improving your situation quite a bit. So
It's nice to hear for a change.
Yeah, tell 'em-
It looks like it's right on the edge of F Street. When we looked at it, though, it didn't look that close, but it.
Yeah. So if you walk from our property onto Diane's, it sort of goes downhill. So it's
Hmm.
down that, somebody mentioned a swale a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it's an indentation there.
All right, there's quite a ways then from our property line.
Yeah.
I would think so.
In the pumping, there's a pumping system that's gonna go out in front of Diane's house.
Yes, that's.
In front, meaning that be the north side.
I mean, I would defer to Jason on that.
Oh, that'll be underground?
that'll all be underground, and the nearest part of the closest part of the septic tank is going to be about 40 feet from your west lot line. And then the pump chamber will be farther away, will be about 52 feet away from your west lot line. So that'll be
Okay.
pretty far away from your property. That won't impact your property at all. So
And that'll happen on the, would be the north side of Diane's house?
on the north side, yep.
Okay. All righty,
Thank you.
thank you.
We have some questions. We're residents and abutters, and we live on 1106 Third Avenue, which is very close to F Street. And the first thing I'd like to ask is related to some terminology that you use that we're not familiar with, but it sounded as though there's a level of effluent containment that could be applied here. And I'm wondering, given all the concerns about this area, why the proposal coming from the committee would not be to include that in this project.
Because at the current time, it's not against regulations to have that there, even though we recommend it, we strongly recommend it, and we commend it when it is used. There
Yeah,
is no binding regulation or law that supports that.
so you have no authority in this particular situation to require that.
I believe that's true. Doug?
Correct.
And have Jason to explain why it almost touches F Street.
Yeah, and I guess the other question that we have is why the the system, the SAS, is so close to F Street. Not that F Street is being utilized for anything, nor will it be, but just curious about that.
Jason?
Paul, you want to speak to that?
So when we do a design like this, our number one priority is to maintain 100-foot separation from any or all wells that exist. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, almost 9 wells that are immediately adjacent to this property.
Yeah. Ours is one of them.
I was miraculously able to find a little window of space, which is where that leach area is proposed, where I'm 100 feet from every well, every abutter's well, and and also the proposed well that we're putting in for Diane. And that little spot is right where we have the proposed leach area. We have a 10-foot requirement off the lot line for F Street, and we're meeting that 10-foot requirement.
I see that.
And
Okay.
yep. So
I'm sorry, I thought it was more than that, but now I can see that what you've done. I thought it was 20 feet.
Just one other question. Could it be proposed to Diane that the upgrade that has been discussed, for which the committee has no authority, could it be within the committee's purview to strongly recommend that be done in this instance?
Well, the only thing that we
That
can
is-
do, condition. And since we have no
Yeah,
legal authority to do that.
that additional component is about $20,000 in addition to what the septic system's already going to cost. And the fact that there's no requirement in this case, the Board of Health has a requirement where if the leach field ends up being within 100 feet of a well or within 100 feet of a saltwater wetland, that the IA system is required. In this case, it's a freshwater wetland. This is a wetland that's not even regulated under state regulations. It's only regulated under the bylaw.
Isolated.
So it's a very minimally jurisdictional type of wetland. If the Wellfleet didn't have a bylaw, that we wouldn't even be here tonight about this. So
Fine. Well, that's good. That does answer our questions, and we will share this information with other neighbors who were not able to join in this evening. And we appreciate the opportunity, by the way, to be a part of this process and to hear the distinctions and subtleties of this project.
Thank you for your attention. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this subject? Okay, I'm entertaining a motion.
I think I may have already moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second, Michael.
All right, we'll have a voice vote. Benjamin Fairbank,
yes.
Mike Fisher,
Yes.
Barbara Brennisell,
Yes.
and Leon Shreves, yes.
Okay, so
Marianne,
this,
that's a -2 or 3.
it's a -3. It's in the buffer zone.
Thank you.
And also, in addition to signing this RDA, let's see what else we have to do. I think that's it.
Yep.
Okay, -3.
Excuse me, can I ask what an RDA is?
What form is it?
It's Form 2, Determination of Applicability.
Yep.
An RDA is a request for determination of applicability. So it's just the nature of the application that they filed. It's only relevant because it corresponds to the permit that will issue, but it's appropriate for the situation.
I'm gonna take notes on that.
Good way for abutters and homeowners to learn about these regulations in case
Yes.
you're contemplating any activities on your properties.
Right. So true.
My understanding is the water quality out there that everybody could use. Help. Okay, why don't we move ahead then? It's been proposed that we bring the Shadorowski issue up to now. So is there someone to speak to the Shadorowski case?
Yes, I'm here. I'm Charlie Agro with Coastal Engineering Company on behalf of the Shadorowskis.
I think they're with us in the meeting too.
Yep,
Okay.
Mr.
Yep.
Shadorowski, or Dr. Shadorowski's here too.
Hello.
Great. Hello. So Charlie, you want to go ahead and discuss what's changed since last week?
Yes, and thank you guys for moving this up. I really appreciate that. Just to try to keep things brief, after a long hearing a couple weeks ago, there were 3 concerns that were voiced by the commission members, and those included the bulkhead material, the location of the rock revetment within the coastal bank, and construction within the intertidal zone. Due to the concerns with the proposed vinyl sheet piling, we actually decided to revise the seawall material to be a concrete cast-in-place wall. This will match the existing material and serve the same function as the vinyl material would. So rather than proposing a vinyl wall, we're proposing to do a concrete wall. On that same note, I did send the report that we had discussed along with some other information to Hillary, which I'd asked her to forward to the commission members for their reference for future projects. The location of the rock revetment was modified as well. I can, if I share my screen, or if Doug can bring up the revised plan, I can discuss the location of the rock revetment.
Might be easier for you to do it, Charlie.
Yeah, I didn't get the digital copies. It was sort of a late in the game kind of thing.
All right.
So if you don't mind, Charlie, appreciate it.
No, of course. Let me see. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Mhm.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
okay, great. We also revised the layout of the rock revetment to move it further into the coastal bank. As we discussed at last week's hearing, we wanted to maintain the connection with the neighboring rock revetment here. And then from that point, we decided that we could taper it into the coastal bank. And that is also shown in the cross sections here, cross section AA and cross section BB. The rock revetment had existed about 5 feet seaward and on the upper, what appears to be the upper slope of the coastal bank in both locations. So we decided to bring that further into the coastal bank to address the concerns that I think were related to access. And just to address the concerns when it comes to a beachfront access here, this is located on the Massachusetts Bay in Wellfleet Harbor, whereas I'm sure everybody knows there's a very significant tidal swing and one of the largest tidal swings on the East Coast of about 9 to 10 feet between high tide and low tide. So in this particular location at low tide, there is plenty of room to access the beach. With the current conditions, with the existing concrete wall, which is within the tidal zone, within the mean high water line, there currently isn't any access across the property here at high tide or at average high tide. By removing the concrete wall and replacing it with the rock revetment that we're proposing to bury within the existing grade, as shown on both of these cross sections, we're significantly improving the access across the site at high tide. And again, the access across the site at low tide will remain the same. And to address the other concern of construction within the intertidal zone, a similar statement can be made for that as well. At low tide, there is a lot of beach real estate out there to work above the water line and away from the tidal waters. As the tide comes up with a lot of these projects, the construction equipment will actually move to higher ground and out of the intertidal zone. On a lot of these projects, we have the contractor will retreat back to the access point or a nearby site that's a little bit higher and away from the that's high and dry, high tide, as shown on the plan and in the access area. within the access across the neighboring property, we have a area that's built up a little bit more right behind the rock groin. That's where equipment could potentially stage itself when the tide is up. And I think that should address the concern about work in the intertidal area, just because the contractor doesn't want to have their machinery get wet or work in the tide zone itself during a high tide. And I guess at this point, if anybody has any questions or concerns, we did everything we could to try to meet the concerns voiced by the commission for this project. The owners really want to do whatever they can to have an environmentally sound solution to reconstruct the existing wall, which is an existing coastal engineered structure within the tidal zone. And as we discussed in great detail at the last hearing, we are proposing to remove that and replace it with a rock revetment, which is going to be sloping in nature and porous, which will allow wave energy to be absorbed rather than reflect, and will have a positive impact on the coastal beach.
So you said that the revetment is going to be, is that partially covered, or, I mean, is it, what are we going to see when this is done?
So at the completion of the project, it'll look like a sandy covered slope with newly planted beach grass, as shown in section AA and section BB. Similar to the neighboring property, 83 Samoset Ave, about this time in the season when the beach has migrated to the greatest extent that it usually does. Some stones may be exposed due to erosion. However, after the annual nourishment, they'll be covered back up again. And as represented at the neighboring site, that rock revetment is typically covered. And on this particular site, we're proposing to taper the rock revetment further into the bank, so it should have a greater likelihood of being covered throughout the year.
That looks good.
Should be pretty.
Are you going to have to excavate a lot of material out of there first?
So we're planning to excavate material that's currently retained by the existing concrete wall, and then use that to fill in the area on the coastal bank. So we would be rejuvenating the coastal bank with some additional clean sand, which is native to the site, and then replanting it with American beach grass.
Okay. Barbara?
Yeah, I want to congratulate Mr. Agro for listening to us without getting too, flustered, and really addressing all our concerns in a very responsible way. I think you've done it. And I have no further objections to this project now that you've, answered our concerns.
Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that.
The only condition I would put on this is that, you've heard this before, the Shellfish Constable wants to meet beforehand so she can make sure that there isn't equipment and rocks or anything impacting shellfish habitat. So Nancy Savetta likes to meet with people who are doing these projects beforehand.
That sounds good.
There's Nancy now.
Sorry, I just got on.
Oh, okay.
Juggling.
So I spoke for
missed
you.
everything.
Sorry.
Okay, no, that's good. You said the right thing.
I was thinking the
Hello,
same.
Nancy.
Hi. So is this the one on Samoset
It is.
Correct.
Yeah.
with the vinyl?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore.
No more.
Oh my
No,
God, that's amazing news.
We tried to, Charlie went through it and you unfortunately just missed it, but
That's
we
okay.
tried, we did our best to address every single one of your concerns. And I think that what we have come up with meets your requirements. I hope so.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you.
And so not to prolong this anymore, and I know Mr. Agro has another meeting to go to, I'm going to move this quickly.
Well,
And-
actually, I have just a few comments.
Okay, sorry, Ben.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I think what I really like, the moving the revetment back 5 feet is really awesome. And I would just say, like, in the future, for me, I'd like to have kind of I really like the section diagrams, but I'd really like to have like a new grade for like in plan view, just for future reference, that's just something I'd like to see, like, and then also like projected mean high water, like the future mean high water. But it's much better. And the other thing I wanted to bring up before we go to any vote is for conditions of, we were doing a lot of conditions on monitoring with the other similar projects. So I just wanted to know, I guess I would just say that to specify that like a monitoring regimen that is both flexible, but also like with a bare minimum of every year at the beginning of the season, that a new survey is done to see where the beach is, how the beach is changing in grade. Because I'm just worried about the level of mean high water in relation to the toe stones.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I think we've completed that with doing topographic surveys on an annual basis, or even setting drill holes as benchmarks in a rock revetment, or setting a nearby benchmark to accomplish that. As shown in the sections here, the nourishment volume is 25 cubic yards. I left it somewhat open-ended as to the actual protocol itself, because in the last hearing, it sounded like Hillary had mentioned that the town is going to be revisiting the topic of beach nourishment and possibly looking to, I guess there was 3 options about how to allocate it. So I guess if we can leave that somewhat dynamic, and we can address that once the town has a chance to have that hearing, I think that would be great.
Well, Hillary already has outlined those options. And
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted, I wanted to voice this again by just saying, being a little bit more specific and saying there's a bare minimum of annual monitoring, and then additional monitoring as needed, and then we can work with Hillary on that.
Yeah, the replenishment options were a variable amount, or if you had a light year and you didn't have much erosion, that essentially the money that you would have spent on replenishment would go into a fund, because they're working on a coordinated plan all along the bayside of where does the sand flow, where's the best place to put it to protect the beaches and things like that. So they're working towards being more scientific about it and more pinpoint, but that is not the current situation. So
Okay, and that,
Charlie?
I was just going to say that we are open to any suggestions for required nourishment. Based on the CZM transects, the nourishment volume we calculated was 25 cubic yards.
Okay, I think
Okay, to be clear-
Hillary has the rubric for the 3 options that should be just appended as an order of conditions for this project, I think.
I think that'd be a good idea. Just as
Leon, I had one small question.
Yes, Mike.
So I was looking and I couldn't see it. Perhaps it's here. You have these removable aluminum steps that are taken up at the end of the season, and I think that's a very good idea. We've been requiring such steps to have a label with the owner's name and address, so that if they're washed away, they can be returned, or any damage they cause can be allocated.
Right, and the other condition follow-up is that if they're removed, they not be stored on vegetated areas. They have to be taken away, so they're not.
They're stored up in the house.
That's fine. We've seen
Yeah.
some of them just stored on the grass, and that's not the intention.
Over the past 50 years that I've been involved in it, we've seen some awful storms where even people's boats that they put over the walls were washed over and washed
Right.
away. So we're careful with that.
Okay, so other condition is labeling of the stairs and storing them out of the vegetated area, which
No problem.
they're already doing, so that's good.
All right, so that's a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second, Michael.
Okay, we'll have a voice vote. Benjamin Fairbank,
Yes.
Michael Fisher,
Yes.
Barbara Brennisell,
Yes.
and Leon Shreves, yes. So I
And
want to thank you too for listening to us as we commented on yours after a very long evening of very difficult hearings. And I appreciate your ability to meet our needs.
Mhm.
You guys are welcome, and I appreciate the input
Thank
from
you.
you as well.
Okay, and this, your supervisor will be the agent, because none of us are engineers and we're not capable of supervising.
Neither am I.
So it will be Hillary who'll coordinate with the Shellfish Department. And we are filling out Form 8B, a certificate of compliance.
No,
All right, thank you, Barbara.
no, this is an NOI, right? No
NOI.
order
Yeah.
of conditions.
Yeah, but it's a certificate. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, gosh. Too many forms. You're right. It's a order of conditions form.
Okay.
Form
Which-
5, I think.
That would be
Yeah,
fine.
okay.
I think.
Yes, Form 5. Sorry about that.
I'm really disappointed.
Yeah.
Our document was
I
down on that.
know, I'm usually so organized. Too much paperwork here.
Hear that. Okay, great. That's.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, let me get myself organized and get back to the agenda.
We are finished, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
For us. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next issue is, I'm probably, it looks like Kozer,
Hey,
Yep.
map 16, parcel 628, 210 Buttery Way. The NOI to remove 3 trees and limb 7 trees within the 50-foot buffer strip. And we visited that site this morning.
Good afternoon, it's Dave LaJoy.
Welcome.
I'll go.
All right, go ahead, Doug.
Okay, you
Oh,
went
no,
to the
I'm giving
site
Dave
today.
the floor. Just so I did it. He's from Falco.
Right.
I can't see.
You went to the site today?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, just as you said, and as shown on the landscape sketch plan, this is a tree work project where there are 3 trees in a bordering vegetative wetland adjacent to the house that we want to cut off at the stump level and totally remove the rest of it. The other trees, 2 labeled A, 2 labeled D, and 3 labeled C, will all be trimmed to a height of no more than 12 feet above the adjacent ground. Going to use the existing driveway for access. Going to use, all the work will be done by hand or with a boom lift machine. Be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any, Barbara?
Yeah, on the B trees, the area in the B, one
Yes.
of them, it's like B8. It didn't seem to be too problematic to me. One of them was dead, one of them seemed to be dying, but that one I didn't see any problem with. What was its health status or reason for removing that tree, cutting it all the way down?
Yeah, it's the one closest to the house.
Yes.
So they want to remove that. And I believe it's being crowded out by, Jeremy may know better, some type of growth on the tree itself that shows it's not very healthy.
Hi, Barb.
Lichen we witnessed?
Yeah.
Hi,
Oh, well,
Barb.
that's on all the trees, but Doug, you remember I pointed that out to you. I said, what's wrong with this one?
Yeah. I think Jeremy had an opinion out there. Is he with us?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Barbara. Those 3 trees marked B The two outer ones are completely dead. It's just complete dead wood. The one closest to the dwelling is also on its way out and posing a risk to the dwelling.
Okay, and then I was curious about the limbing, but I think Dave just said no more than how many feet up, or what was the? It
12
wasn't
feet,
no more than 12 feet up the tree?
correct.
Okay, that helped clarify because that wasn't on the plan that I saw.
It is in the construction notes.
Okay. Gosh, I have to read that too.
I mean, I just saw it, so yeah.
Okay.
Leon, can I ask a question?
Yes, Mike?
So I didn't see that there's any sort of mitigation proposal for replacing the carbon sequestering trees that are being dealt with. There seems to be a lot of room between the property and Buttrey Way. Is there any area that you could plant trees?
Michael, the area B, unfortunately, most likely I'd be unable to plant in that area.
No, it doesn't have to be in that area, but somewhere on the property.
Somewhere in the property, yes, I could mitigate 3-to-1 ratio, so 9 plantings to those 3 trees.
That would be good.
Yes.
And Jeremy, you have a lot of experience with the kinds of bushes that would do well in that area.
Yes, I already did a mitigation planting there June of last year for Tim Dickey.
For that was the redoing of the porch and the boat float, I mean, and so on and so forth. It's in the minutes for that.
Yes.
Barbara?
I just have one sticky point, and that is, I asked Doug to look at the order of conditions for the deck project, and it seems to me that when we allow deck projects, we say don't store stuff underneath because we want as much vegetation, especially when it's this close to the water, to grow, to, so the roots can absorb nutrients and help mitigate for a lot of other things. And there's this big sailfish under that deck. So Doug, were you able to look at the order of conditions from the deck project?
Unfortunately, I wasn't.
Well, how about if we?
Yeah, I don't have a better explanation. I just
How
didn't have
about if
time
we
to
put
look
an
at it,
order
but
of
yeah.
conditions on this, that one way to mitigate is to not store anything under that deck and allow some vegetation to grow there. That's my suggestion, because I think we did order that last time. I know Cumberland would insist on that, and I'm going to insist on no storage under the deck.
There's a very nice rack for the kayaks in the proper place in the disturbed area where the driveway is. So that was a good model.
Right, but this is a sunfish. It's bigger.
No, you're right. You're right.
But it can be put in the driveway as well.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be under the deck.
So that and the remedial planting of trees, is that what we're suggesting?
That's
All
good
right.
with me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
All right, somebody like to make a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve Kozer map 16 parcel 628 210 Buttrey Way for an NOI to remove 3 trees, limb 7 trees within the 50-foot buffer strip with mitigation of no storage under the deck and a planting of 9 bushes.
Do I hear a second?
A second, Ben.
All right, Ben, how do you vote? Mike?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So
Thank
that's-
you.
And we need a supervisor for this because it's an NOI.
This is a Buttrey Lane.
Yeah, I think John Portnoy used to do these
Yeah.
projects, but
But you can put me down for that then.
okay, Leon supervising. Thank you. And that's Form 5 again. I think I got that right this time.
Good. All right, we're on a roll here.
That was approved 4-0.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
We need a 4 to a quorum. We need 4 to approve any project, and we only have 4 today. So if anyone has an objection, a project will not go forward.
Sounds good.
I need to keep that one. Okay, the next item is Burns, map 22, parcel 1840 Chipman's Way. Is there somebody to represent that?
Yes, good afternoon, Dave LaJoy again.
Hi, David.
Hello.
Do
Okay,
you want to present this to us, please?
yep, piece of property at the end of Chipman's Way, an existing house. The resource area only is the flood zone that comes into the property on the southwest side. And it comes into a point where the existing grade has the flood zone on the west side outside the building. And then there would be a small coastal bank on the south side of the building, adjacent to Chipman's Way. The bank obviously doesn't erode, it's just a vertical buffer from the floodwaters. But if the flood does come in, it'll come in and hit the side slope on that south side. It's existing house, they'd like to do several projects, starting with, there's a large existing driveway. If you went there today, they're gonna modify the driveway so that as you come in from Chipman's Way, the original driveway remains, but they're gonna take a quick left to create 2 parking spaces. And as you go to the north along the existing drive, when it gets a little bit past the house to the north, they're gonna remove all that existing driveway, which is a stone driveway. They're also proposing a shed on the north side of the property, just outside the existing drive. They need to put in a generator on the south side of the building, 5 feet away from the building. And also a propane tank that'll be buried, again, to the south of the building, near Chipman's Way. They'd like to construct a porch, excuse me, on the east side of the house, 22 by 8. There's an existing deck on the west side of the house. On the southerly side of the existing deck, they want to transform that to a porch, still elevated like the existing deck is, and expand the existing deck and the pad and the porch area by 2 feet, heading towards the wetland. Have a restrictive work limit, and as mitigation, we're proposing 5 eastern red cedars to the north side of the property. Be happy to answer any questions.
What are you going to do with the existing driveway that you're going to remove?
Yeah, they're gonna basically dig up all the stone and remove it. And then prepare the land to be planted with a new lawn.
The construction notes say colonial grass seed mix. I'm not too familiar, and can you just tell us what species?
If I could ask Jeremy to get online here and he can explain to you better than I believe.
Hi, Benjamin. The colonial grass seed in other terms is Harmony Blend. It's a low maintenance, relatively drought tolerant grass seed. I am proposing with David to put in an irrigation system to get the seed established due to the continued drought that we're in. The expanse of proposed seeded lawn is massive.
Leon, can I ask questions?
Yes, you may, Mike.
First of all, for some reason, I never received the actual NOI form. I only received the map. But there's a great deal going on within the 50-foot filter strip, which is really against our regulations. The total proposed area of disturbance is 3,297 square feet, which is well over the 3,000 total allowed on a property. And in fact, counting the driveways and so on, it's over 6,600 square feet. So I really couldn't support this, first of all, without seeing the actual application. And secondly, when you're adding in things which are really against the regulations, for example, adding 2 foot to the existing deck, that's 2 feet from the house toward the wetland, which is explicitly not allowed in the regulations. So I would suggest that, David, you know the regulations very well, that you work with the owners to try to get it within the regulations wherever possible.
Barbara?
I actually had the same exact comments that Michael did about it being between 6,000 and 7,000 square feet of disturbance, which is well above what we ever allow. I just want to read into the regulations. The following activities are prohibited within the 50-foot filter strip: new or expanded lawn, and there would be expanded lawn in the 50. New structures, including but not limited to homes, buildings, garage, sheds, and decks. An expansion of existing structures, including but not limited to homes, buildings, garages, sheds, and decks. I mean, what seems like a modest proposal, if this weren't in an area that we have jurisdiction over, it would be a no-brainer. But because we have these restrictions, I have a lot of issues with this project. Although they seem modest, almost every single part of this is in violation of our regulations. So I would urge Mr. LaJoy to go back to the homeowners and sort of rethink what could be possible here.
Well, based on the regulations, none of what they're trying to do theoretically is except for maybe the propane tank and the generators.
Right, and there's already a pad for their split system that wasn't permitted as well. I mean, it's minor, it's a small pad, but there are going to be more pads for generators and other things, and all of that's in the 50.
Yeah.
The unique thing about this property, I agree, obviously we knew that before presented to you. The unique thing is that the resource area essentially is the flood zone. And only due to some minor topography change, there's a coastal bank. So this is not an area that typically has a jurisdictional use by your bylaws to say a coastal bank, freshwater or saltwater wetland. This is a flood zone. So that the criteria to improve or to protect the flood zone, we're not going against any of that. We're not adding fill to where the flood will go in different areas. So it's just a flood zone issue. The removal of the driveway to have a more natural landscape seems to be reasonable and then modifying that with smaller driveway for 2 cars to park. The screen porch already is on an existing elevated deck. And the expansion of the 2 decks was the owner's request. I'd have no problem withdrawing that from them if that helped the commission. We also have proposed plantings within the 50 feet to try to mitigate further. So this is a unique scenario where we're not dealing with a typical wetland. We're an upland situation bordered by a flood zone. If that helps, some reason why we propose what we did.
Yeah, we discussed that fact that it was there's kind of a dip where the
Yes,
coastal bank comes in, and it's actually quite a ways away from any wetlands.
yes.
But if
But we
Leon,
still-
if I might, it's
Yes,
still a
Barbara.
lot, it's still a lot of disturbance on the property. I mean, right now, I could say I would approve the shed, but the other elements of this, I think, have to be reined back, and I think we need to see something else before I would approve this project.
If we kept the carpentry work or the changes to the actual building, we're removing a substantial amount of stone driveway and just relocating it. If you saw the disturbance there now, we're removing some of that, most of it.
Right, but then it says new lawn, and we're not allowed to permit new or expanded lawns in our jurisdiction. So what you're substituting for I realize it's already disturbed, but
Yes.
I still think that the the decks that you want to expand more towards the water, I don't think we can allow that. So I think there are some things that could be fine tuned in this, or maybe even gross tuned in this, that we would be more comfortable, I would be more comfortable with.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Benjamin?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I would also request more of a planting plan in addition to, as a supplemental to this, to actually call out what plant. I know that you write prairie grasses and bearberry, but I would actually request, I mean, at least a short list of good shrubs and different things that you would put there, and have them called out in a plant list, and that would help. And then also for I would request reduction in new lawn as well, and maybe substitute parts of the lawn with the mitigation plan, and then also to specify the exact kinds of grass seed. And then lastly, I would say that I would lean towards possibly allowing irrigation, but with a condition that it would be removed after the first year once it's established. But obviously, I would need a new plan about where the lawn is going to be before we talk about that. But I just felt like that would be useful for you.
Thank you.
And the pad for the mini split should be on the plan. It's
I'll
not.
provide that.
Okay. So I think I'm not ready to approve this, but I think we've given Mr. LaJoy some direction as to how this plan could go that would be more palatable to us.
Is the screen porch, I'm sorry, the front porch, is that acceptable?
It's new construction within the filter.
It is.
Yeah, we're not supposed to allow it. I mean, I think the porch, the screen porch over the existing deck, one could argue that it's already a structure, it's just going up. It's a stretch, but I think it'd be easier for me to
Mhm.
to do
I
that.
understand. I understand.
Yeah, other than the drainage off of it,
Right.
there's no net change really. So any plan would have to include what to do with the runoff from the porch.
And then also just to keep the total lot disturbed in an area that under a square footage that we could approve, because we can't approve over 6,000 square feet, where our
Yeah,
limit is 5.
All the numbers that you see on the drawing, the different areas, that's basically existing.
Right. So if you remove all of the old driveway from the front of the house around, keep in mind that the lawn restriction is within the 50-foot, and you only have one small corner. So as Benjamin suggested, maybe you can plant some natural shrubs in that area, but go ahead and have the lawn elsewhere.
Can we have the lawn area outside the 50-foot?
Well, I don't see where on the property you could put this.
Okay,
Oh, I see. I see.
You see
Beyond the,
that there?
yes, yes, I'm sorry. I do.
It's just a little corner of the lawn.
Right, right. Yes, you could technically.
Okay,
But I think the idea is to mitigate for the structures and for the parking and everything else, and to get the disturbed area below 5,000 if you can.
if that would be a proposed reduction as well, because it's already there, so it's already in the calculation. So
Well,
we'd
it
be
was hard.
removing it.
It was hard for me. I just looked at total lot disturbed area,
Yeah.
new and existing, and it's over 6,000.
Yes,
So,
The new is over 1,000.
yes.
yes. So,
Keeping in mind the new lawn, is mitigating an existing driveway using a native species of grass seed. Just to note that. I know it
Right.
is new, but it is a mitigated area using native species seed.
These are all good ideas.
do we want to continue this?
Yeah, I think we should continue this. When would you
Any
like to?
public comment?
Is there any more comments? Okay. Could we continue this for 2 weeks? Is 2 weeks the next meeting?
It's
Should
the
be.
5th of May.
Right, 5th of May. Is that agreeable?
Yes,
All right.
Okay, I move that we continue Coser, map 16, parcel
So
620,
actually, it's Burns.
Burns, I'm sorry.
Burns. Okay.
Map 22, parcel 18, 40 Chipman's Way, for their NOI to construct a new front porch and new screen porch driveway to be altered, new in-ground propane tank, generator and shed.
Second, Michael.
Have a vote. Benjamin,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. So we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next one is Spear Janice, map 19, parcel 105, 835 Chequesset Neck Road. Is there somebody here to represent that?
Yes, good afternoon. David Joy.
And Jeremy's here, and I think Jeremy is
Yes,
better versed in explaining than I am, but I'm here to answer questions.
All right, great. Jeremy, you want to discuss this, please? Present this?
Or is it Dave?
David,
Who-
why don't
David,
you
go
let me
ahead.
start? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's property on Chequesset Neck Road, existing dwelling, abutting Wellfleet Harbor, has an existing stone revetment. And What we show is the top of the bank from the stone revetment on the southwest side. And then the coastal bank encroaches further onto the lot on the southeast side due to the topography.
Mhm.
What, I believe this started with, there was some tree removal kind of in the middle of the lot, north of the dwelling. And in order to properly put the property back after that tree removal, they would like to,
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it wasn't tree removal. We had a septic system serious blockage from tree roots. So that was the cause of removing a few trees whose roots were going through our septic system. And they weren't
Thank you.
trees, they were bushes.
thank you. So,
Is this an after the fact? Has this
Excuse
already
me?
been- Has this already been done?
Has
No.
what already been done? I'm sorry.
Septic system. Wait, the septic system was fixed. That's all that's been done.
Okay, but the bushes still present a danger to re-encroach on your septic system?
Well,
Is that,
some of the bushes whose roots were in the tube of the septic system were removed in order to get the septic system working. And that
Okay.
was about a year ago, so.
okay. All right,
Okay, so in the area where that work was done, they'd like to install a flagstone walkway coming from the existing drive, heading parallel to the house to the east, connecting up to where there's an existing garden that they would like to make larger, and then traversing down towards the harbor and ultimately coming to the area around the house that presently has this existing stone retaining wall.
yes, we visited this morning.
Okay. So that's basically what's being proposed is a new flagstone walkway, an enlargement of the garden, and again, further installation of the walkway down towards the water and ultimately into the house.
Major conflict with that is that the walkway goes into the filters,
To the 50-foot strip, yes.
filter strip.
David, do you have the total disturbed area plus what's newly going to be disturbed?
I don't, basically all the disturbed areas exists. And that the walkway would be used to put the area back together again, along with the plantings.
Yes, I understand that, but we, as you know, we like to have a total disturbed area for this lot, particularly within the filter strip and the buffer zone.
Oh, the complete with the building and
Yes,
existing,
indeed.
yes, no, I
Yeah.
did not do that. I could though for you.
Okay.
It obviously is substantial.
Yes, it is.
Leon, to respond to the walkway question, I think I think we were saying walkways are okay if they're set in sand. Is that something, or is that regulated?
We have regulated that. We've, for example, said that they have to be in sand and certain amount of space between pavers or planting of some kind of, I remember one project had thyme planted between pavers. So it's not automatic that walkways can be put in. It is under our jurisdiction. It's a structure.
Where,
I just wanted to
if you look at the plan, excuse me, construction note number 6 describes, I think, what you're referring to.
Right, 6 inches apart and set in sand.
So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. He does specify that, if that helps anybody. And then I just want to like reiterate just that I kind of would like it to say conservation grass seed mix or native grass seed mix, because I think am I right in saying Colonial is the brand, or
Colonial would be the brand, and it would be Harmony Blend would be the native species seed.
okay, I would just say for record keeping, to specify that it's going to be a native grass seed mix.
Okay.
So it sounds like we'd have at least one condition, which would be that, well, is the entire walkway going to be flagstones spaced apart, David?
Yes.
Okay.
David, actually, I think on your narrative, you do have under environmental protection regulations, some of the figures about new alterations and total site of more than 10,900 square feet. So you do have some of that. It's not in the plan, but it's in the application.
Which is about 4,000 feet. Well, that's all not, most of that, or only a portion of that's within the 50.
Right.
And
Dave,
part of the driveway and things aren't, just a little piece of the driveway is not in the 100. So, and it might also be pointed out that the area for the new garden, which is probably going to be a raised bed, we suspect, is already disturbed. It's not natural right now. So does anyone else have anything to say about this? Barbara?
Is the proposed area of the walkway in the 50 really necessary for access to the garden?
No, and we don't really care about the walkway. We really just want to fix the disturbed places that were dug up to fix the septic tank. That's our goal. And if there's a problem with part of the walkway, just please take it out of the plan so we can maybe plant some grass this spring, which is all we really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that would save 528 square feet.
Yeah.
So that's something.
That's
Yeah,
significant.
that is, that's a good trade-off. Ms. Spear. And the garden probably is not a problem, from my standpoint.
No, I don't have a problem with the garden. I would, if some of that walkway, which is hard structure, were removed, especially all the stuff in the 50, I'd be okay with this.
Okay, David, I suggest that we get a new plan with that, and we have the, would we need a planting plan on this, or are you just?
I understand.
We're proposing, again, we don't want to harm the septic any further. I don't, from my experience, planting over a septic system, it would be, just Harmony Blend grass seed or beach grass. I mean, you don't want anything, with a heavy root system. So a planting plan wouldn't really be required.
Right.
So Leon, I would be comfortable approving this subject to the removal of the walkway from the plan, and then the planting plan being submitted to the agent.
You're referring to the walkway, excuse me, in the 50-foot, correct?
Yes.
Yes, I'm still
Thank you.
okay with access from the driveway to the garden with
Thank you.
some pavers. That would be fine, but then just stop there.
Yes.
And we could approve this today, I think, if you're willing to do that without coming back with a,
Thank you.
just.
All right.
That
I
would
don't
be,
know.
that would be terrific. I'm totally fine with that.
Okay, do I hear an official motion?
Yes, Michael, I move that we approve Spear Janus map 19 parcel 105, 835 Chequesset Neck Road, NOI, to install the flagstone walkway outside of the 50-foot filter strip, and then removing root intrusion, which is affecting existing septic area, plus the extension of a new garden.
And mitigation, was that part of it, or just the
Well,
grass?
Yeah, just the grass that they're gonna-
Okay, all right, okay.
It was all previously disturbed.
Do I hear a
Yeah.
second?
Barbara
second that.
seconds.
Okay. All right, Benjamin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes,
and I also vote yes. So you're good to go.
Thank
Do
you.
they, are they
Good
really? Nah.
Huh? Meh?
Well, I
What's
wonder,
that,
are they, I didn't catch the part, are they submitting a revised plan showing that walkway?
they have to submit an advised plan to you, to
Okay.
the agent. We
Right.
don't have to see it again in a meeting, but they need it.
Right.
With the square foot of disturbance total on it.
Okay.
And then we need a supervisor for this too.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Ben.
you.
Thank you.
And this is the number 2. Is that right, Barbara?
Let's see.
This is an NOI, so it's order.
No,
of
but
conditions.
it's,
This was,
the work is in the buffer zone, so it's a -3. It's not in the resource area. That would be a -2.
Yeah, but that's a determination.
This is an
You're
NOI.
issuing
Oh,
an
this is an
order.
NOI. We don't need a determination. Right,
Yeah. We're issuing an order of conditions for the record.
right, right.
all right. Sounds like everybody will be happy with this.
And Ben was the supervisor, correct?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we have one more, and that's Emic, 40 Ridge View Drive, map 13, parcel 135. This is an after the fact RDA to remove dead and damaged trees, selectively cut 3 damaged pines. Is somebody here to represent that? Does not sound like it.
And this is the second time that no one has showed up for that.
And I have to ask, based on the aerial photos that John Portnoy sent us, should this be an RDA or an NOI?
And how far back should it?
Yeah. Anyway, we're throwing it back to the department to figure this out because,
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't at the last hearing. Am I understanding that no one showed for the last time?
That's
Right.
correct.
right, and they're not showing today.
And
so-
it's only been on the agenda twice.
Yes,
Exactly. And John Portnoy sent aerial photographs from, I think, 2018, where the whole hillside was covered with trees.
And
full
now it's-
canopy. And now they're asking for trimming dead and damaged trees, 3. And that seemed improbable given the evidence from the Google Earth.
I mean, I can't speak for the applicant, but what I can tell you is that the 3 tree number was what I witnessed on site. So that's all I could account for.
Yeah, this is an after the fact filing anyway.
Yeah, to be clear.
Right. But what we're considering is that the fact is that the whole lot was covered with trees 2 or 4 years ago. And when did it get clear cut? And where's the paperwork on
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, no one's here to speak on that. The way the property appeared was that it was, for all intents and purposes, newly improved. So I wondered if, I mean, I'll stick to what I know. I did arrive on site when work was being conducted and asked them to stop. And I witnessed 3 large mature pitch pines that were either in the process of being cut or dropped.
And now it's just wood chips.
And unfortunately, John's not here to speak on his observations. But and I don't have that with me. So, and again, I'm not the applicant, I'm just the department. So I'm gonna just I mean, I would defer to the applicant at this point.
Yeah, they'll have to get here.
So I'll confer with Hillary on what the next step forward will be. I don't think we should spend too much time on it, especially given that they're not here.
Right.
But if anyone has wants to assert an opinion, I think on the record, that would be probably, you could certainly do that now.
Well, I think the concern I have is that there was a lot more going on in this lot over time, a reasonably short time of 4 years. And none of that was sanctioned, as far as I can tell. That's my concern.
But I think we just have to vote to continue this.
Right.
And if the agent can make sure that the people show up this time, the 3rd time, that would be much appreciated.
Okay, yeah, I'll note that. I'm just gonna note in the file the date and the lack of appearance.
Okay, so I'll move, we continue Kimmick, 40 Ridgeview Drive.
All right, and Mike seconds. So Benjamin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. I definitely hope they attend next time. So that'll be continued until the 3rd, is that right?
5th.
May 5th. 5/5. Okay. Nancy, what would you like to
I
say?
got here, I'm sorry, I got here late, so I was trying to hear Boehringer, and I didn't, I had one other thing to add to that, and I don't know what was discussed. Should I put it in writing and email it, or?
Nancy, we tried to contact the people that we thought might attend tonight, and I forgive me because I you know, it was short notice for me too, but yeah, he continued to May 5th. So if it's all the same to you, I would suggest just saving your comments for the time for when we reopen his hearing.
Okay. Thank you.
If that doesn't somehow suit your schedule, you're certainly welcome to submit a written comment.
Okay.
And you have both options. They're not mutually exclusive. You can show, yeah.
So
okay, wonderful.
I think we have to vote to continue.
Right.
So I move that we continue Boehringer map 35 parcels 2, 1, 2, and 33.
A second.
All right, how do you vote, Benjamin?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
And Leon, yes. So that's continued to the 3rd of May.
Let's do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, I believe that we've exhausted the agenda.
So I would move that we adjourn.
Second, Barbara.
Michael, how do you vote?
Yes.
Benjamin?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So we are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Leon, for
That was a good meeting.
guiding us.
And thank you, Doug, for filling in.
Yes.
Sure. Not a problem. Anytime.
You're the adult in the
Thank you,
room.
guys.
So long.